Tonight, NDC minority in charm offensive to build a coalition against Bank of Ghana governor and his two deputies ahead of 5th September protest to force them out.
Everything is set for our protest, which will be joined by thousands of Ghanaians to express our revulsion at the ugly and corrupt activities that has impoverished the people of Ghana. And this will happen on the 5th of September.
Meanwhile, leadership of the NDC minority have rejected alternative protest routes suggested by the police following a meeting today.
Senior people have come out of the Flagstaff House and received petitions. So if you can demonstrate or march up to the frontage of the Flagstaff House, how is it that you cannot demonstrate before or march to the frontage of the Bank of Ghana head office building?
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The NDC minority in Parliament is tonight on a charm offensive to build a coalition against the Bank of Ghana governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, and his two deputies ahead of their planned 5th September protest to force them out. The NDC has today been partnering with civil society, pressure groups, and middle-class activists to present a united front for the Occupy BOG protest. They accuse the BOG governor of illegally printing money of about 80 billion cedis between 2021 and 2022, which they say has led to record inflation. Now, they also blame the governor for the bank's recent historic 60 billion CD loss. The leadership of the minority have been meeting with the police today. Now, joining us understands the leaders have rejected alternative routes suggested by the police for the protest. More on that shortly. But first, the deputy minority leader, Emmanuel Amakufibwa, has been addressing the press after that closed-door meeting with the police.
Of our intention to protest, to express our revulsion on the illegal printing of money at the Bank of Ghana and the malfeasance that has been reported in the 2021 and 2022 financial report of Bank of Ghana. Acts that has resulted in impoverishing close to 1 million Ghanaians. As law-abiding citizens, we wrote to the police service to inform them about our intention to protest on the 5th of September. We provided them a detailed route of the path that we will go through during that protest. We were invited by the Ghana Police Service. We were joined by civil society organizations, Arise Ghana, and our comrade Bernard Mona were received warmly by the police service. We engaged in very constructive discussions on the planned protest. I am very happy to inform you that the engagement was very cordial. The police service made some proposals to us, and we also insisted on our proposals in terms of the route we have. We concluded the meeting that we will go through the route that we have proposed. And so everything is set for our protest, which will be joined by thousands of Ghanaians to express our revulsion at the ugly and corrupt activities that has impoverished the people of Ghana. And this will happen on the 5th of September.
Well, my colleague Samuel Mbura was with the team when they went to the police, and he joins me in the studio right now. The deputy minority leader says a meeting with the police was fruitful, but we understand one of the key things they haggled over was how to get a petition to the governor when they converge at the BOG premises.
Exactly, Evan. So they are resisting any attempts by the police to give them alternative routes because they earlier proposed that they will use the frontage of Parliament House, Osu Cemetery, traffic light, through to the Ministry of Finance, High Court Complex, the Kimbo area, and Makola leading to Rollins Park, Opera Square, and back to the Bank of Ghana, where the protesters will march and picket as well to demand the resignation of the governor, the deputy governors, and board of directors of the bank. So they say that any attempt to prevent them from doing that will be resisted.
So far as we are concerned, the route that we have proposed are the routes that we are going to use. The police, of course, in the discussions, discuss alternatives here and there, but we insisted that the routes that we have proposed are the routes we are going to use. And that is why we are saying that we haven't accepted any alternative arrangements. We've insisted that the routes that we have proposed are the routes we will use. And we believe and we have confidence in the Ghana Police Service. We've seen them police, lengthier routes, more complicated routes. There's no part of Accra that I, standing here, have never demonstrated through. And the police were there to ensure that it was successful. The most strategic and important national security installation is the office of the president. And I'm sure as media men, you have covered demonstrations up to the frontage of the Flagstaff House. And senior people have come out of the Flagstaff House and received petitions. So if you can demonstrate or march up to the frontage of the Flagstaff House, how is it that you cannot demonstrate before or march to the frontage of the Bank of Ghana head office building? Remember that the money is not kept at the head office building. The money is not kept at the head office building. If we're proposing to march to Spintex Road where there are warehouses where they keep their money, then that is where most of you would have been concerned. But this is the head office where there are workers and there are office buildings across the city, and Bank of Ghana workers use those facilities. So I don't think that there's any real security issue here at all.
So Mbura, they are insisting on this route that they themselves had already talked about in the statement they put out. But today, we've heard the deputy minority leader talk about the fact that they're not doing this alone. They are getting others to join them.
Exactly, Evan. So I'm told that the People's National Convention, PNC, Ghana Union Movement, the Great Consolidated Popular Party, All People's Congress, we also have various civil society organizations. They say the creative arts industry, drivers' unions, traders and citizens from all walks of life, and also the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability will be pouring out on the street on that day to support the minority.
Okay, and when they get to the BOG premises, is it the intention to actually meet with the governor?
That is the expectation of the minority, because they said they have agreed with the police that when they get to the premises of the BOG, they will not be prevented. They are expecting the governor himself, Dr. Ernest Addison, to come and receive their petition.
Okay, let's get a bit more on this as they plan towards the 5th of September. I want to bring in Mahama Yarega, who was also there today with the group. He's a member of parliament for Boku Central. You know him. He joins us on the line right now. Also joining me is a deputy trade minister, a member of the finance committee in parliament as well, Dr. Stephen Ama. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here on Top Story. Mr. Yarega, so
it's a pleasure.
I just heard you there insist that you want to use the route that you have decided on, but the police have alternatives for you. There's a security concern, there's a public order concern here. Is there not?
Well, good evening to you and to our cherished listeners. When we went to the meeting, they actually proposed that we should start from Obra Spot at the circle and march on the Adabaka road leading to the city center, and halfway through take a left turn and pass through the City House traffic lights, and then continue along that route and terminate at the Independence Square. And they said they were proposing that because of security considerations, the Bank of Ghana is a security zone, and we could not match the Bank of Ghana. And then also that they didn't want us to obstruct traffic and etc. And then also they didn't want us to pass through Makola Market because every day Makola Market tends to be busy. So we pointed out to them that if you take our route from Parliament through the court complex, Finance Ministry, and then through Kimbu, through Makola, to the Bank of Ghana building, it is a shorter route and will involve less obstruction of traffic and etc. than the route they are proposing to us to start all the way from, the circle area. And secondly, if they are concerned about Bank of Ghana being security installation, their route also requires that we pass through City House. City House is a Bank of Ghana installation. It's an office building where Bank of Ghana staff work from. So why are you not concerned about us, passing by City House, and yet you have an issue with us getting to the headquarters itself? So we rejected that proposal and insisted that we will use the route that we have proposed. And they said, well, that was their proposal, and we also insisted that we will use the route that we have proposed.
You accept that in this case, the police can go to court and get an order if they indeed have genuine security concerns. They can make that case. You accept that that's a possibility?
Well, I mean that's always an option open to the police, and we are not afraid of meeting them in court. But we insist that the route that we have proposed is equally convenient. Like I indicated earlier on, there's no part of Accra that we have not demonstrated. It was peaceful, and the police were up to the task. And Ghanaians are very, civil. They will demonstrate, make their point, and disperse at the end of the day. So I don't see why they are worried about the route that we have chosen.
I mean, let me bring in Dr. Stephen Amma. Dr. Stephen Amma, you're the Deputy Trade Minister. You sit also in the Finance Committee in Parliament. You look at the record losses that the BOG has suffered. You look at the negative equity that they have currently. Clearly, there's an issue there. Somebody must take responsibility for this. The minority is convinced that the central bank governor and the two deputies must. You support your move, that this is how you hold public officers accountable?
Thank you very much. My regards to our cherished listeners and viewers this evening, and thank you for giving the country this opportunity. In the first place, my greetings to my senior Ayaga. The fact of the matter is that, Evans, we should all know that what they are doing is basically to have some sort of political capital, because we're getting into next year election, and because of the political capital they really want, they went back on all sorts of activities just to get people into making arbitrary decisions and vote for them. In any case, they know that what we are talking about is a very technical issue, that if the NDC had been in government, they wouldn't have been able to offer any other alternative or even prevent or mitigate the impact of what is happening. In any case, I think the impact would have been even higher and stronger or severer than we are having. So I really don't support them too. They even understand the law and the processes even more than I do as a first time in Parliament. If you disagree with painting of man, that is so. Is it demonstration on the street that will solve it? Is it also true that the equity, the negative equity they are talking about means insolvency? They know that is not true. There are clear differences. Is it also true, or otherwise, that Ghana's central bank is the only bank that is going through this Herculean time of what it's experiencing? Have you forgotten about UK, Australia, Switzerland, all these countries, as a result of the global liquidity challenges that we are having, that we are part of, especially when we are an import-driven economy? And it's not even the first time the Central Bank of Ghana is trying to position itself in a way to stabilize our economy, which is one of its mandates. So as much as probably they might have had issues and they think they want to dig deeper and just try to find a way of understanding what is happening, they should try, not this time, to always stick to the old method of I want power. So either something is good or bad, whether the approach or the technique is the right technique available, whether what we are doing today can solve tomorrow's problem. I want power, so I will do anything. On that grounds, I disagree with them. I don't think that is the right approach.
Mama Yerga, this is purely a political point-scoring measure. You just said to him there. You agree with that?
Well, I mean, I am disappointed because it is obvious. You yourself, you all saw the report or the audit report on the central bank, the financial statement. It's obvious that, they've registered a loss of over 60 billion, that, they have a negative equity now. If you are the bank of last resort and you are sitting with a negative equity, if any of the banks run into a crisis today, this central bank has been so inefficiently managed that they will not be able to help that bank out of the crisis. In fact, the president is talking about going to Niger. He will not be able to afford food and fuel for the soldiers to go to Niger because he hasn't budgeted for it, and his central bank does not have any emergency fund sitting there that he can count on to even go to the Niger that he is talking about going to. This is the extent to which a central bank has been mismanaged. And as if that is not enough, in the midst of this mismanagement, this leadership, the governor and his two deputies, go and put 222 million United States dollars to construct space for themselves, for their comfort, when the banks are suffering. When the commercial banks suffered similar circumstances, the central bank shut them down. They shut them down. They arrested the owners of the bank. They arrested the managers of the banks. The board members investigated them and are prosecuting some of them. So if they could do these to commercial banks, why is that they, as the regulators that we have appointed and are paying with our tax money, somebody will tell us that we should not hold them accountable? They must be held accountable. This is how you run a country. You don't sweep everything under the carpet because you don't set a good precedent for future leaders of the central bank. We will definitely be in power one day. We are setting a standard so that future central bank governors will know that this is the standard. So I'm disappointed that
but you're holding this
to defend this record.
You're holding the central bank governor responsible, but the economic crisis that triggered the support that they had to give to the government, and the IMF backs this up by saying they had to step in to prevent the total economic collapse. We've seen that almost 90% of the loss that they suffered is down to their participation in the DDEP, the hit that they had to take on behalf of the financial sector. Those are the hard facts. So how does the Bank of Ghana governor and his two deputies take the fall for that when the problem was created elsewhere?
Elsewhere where?
Well, you have the finance ministry. They're not in charge of, they're not responsible for policy.
Over borrowing. And it was part of the responsibility of the central bank governor to check the overborrowing. So they sat back and negligently allowed the finance minister to overborrow. And then when the IMF was coming in, the IMF said, look, you have overborrowed, and we can't come in if you have overborrowed. So you have to go and renegotiate your debts. They could not successfully renegotiate. And then the same central bank that sat back and allowed the finance ministry to overborrow then decided to assist them by cutting on whatever it is that the government also owed them. So clearly, it is this same central bank government governor that was supposed to hold the executive in check. That's the finance ministry in check. They failed to do that. Then they ran us into a crisis. Then again, they went in and used public money to bail them, and then unilaterally, without coming to Parliament, decided to waive all that money. So if this is not inefficiency and bad leadership, what else are you looking out for?
But isn't this also scapegoating the central bank governor when the minority try to remove the finance minister because you held him ultimately responsible. Because you failed there, you've turned your attention on the central bank governor.
All of them are responsible. Each of them is responsible. The finance minister has his responsibility, and the Constitution says the way to hold him responsible is to go by a vote of censure. We did that. For the governor also, we are saying that he should resign. So you can't just focus on the finance minister. You will have to hold the central bank governor also accountable. And we are taking steps to hold him accountable.
Well, Stephen Animwaa, you defend the BOG, but the facts suggest that they have been, one, negligent, but two, downright disregarding of the law. The Bank of Ghana Act as amended says they had to go to Parliament and inform Parliament after they've done informing the finance minister. They didn't do that. You have such a huge historic loss. They blame it on other factors. But those two alone, aren't they enough for him to be held accountable and his two deputies?
Evans, thank you. I hope I also get enough time to explain issues. In the first place, Evans, let's all be very honest. Raising issues, I'm not saying it is out of gear that people raise issues for clarification or whatever they want, information, whatever pieces of information they want. But I just want to quote three things for us to see whether this is an exclusive situation that we can say that it's our bank, a central bank of Ghana that is not doing well. Before I come back to what he said, I have this document from the Bank of Ghana itself, quoted from reliable sources, that they explain to us that Australia Bank, that is Reserve Bank of Australia, in their currency, they had about 37 billion losses. UK had about 150 billion pounds, and the Swiss had about 132 billion. Evans, can we say honestly that something exclusive with our bank?
You're now comparing yourself to Australia and others?
After they have explained even part of the exposures they had to take from, and you even said it right here, that because of the crisis, because one of the things my brothers are raising is that because of even printing of money and other things, inflation went up. Please check the global inflation. I normally like benchmarking, dealing with global inflation post-COVID is hovering around averagely 300%. 300 and over, even more. Go and check. I've forgotten the percent, but from about 1.7 something to about 10 or 9%. Go and check the differences. You're talking about the fact that we have borrowed money and that we have, please, we had almost 22 months of impaired productivity. I've never seen in this country, you can correct me, that a time came that people were asked to stay home, but we paid them. That the private sector had to sack about 40,000 people. And because of that, by paying corporate taxes and the other taxes, we have shortfalls of our revenue generation domestically, almost 12 billion as a country. Definitely that will affect our fiscal space for us to probably have issues with borrowing.
But Dr. Animwaa, how does that stop? How does that stop the BOG? How does that stop the BOG from complying with the law that says inform Parliament when you are overexposed to the government?
Come again.
How does that stop the BOG from complying with the law that says inform
let me come
when you're overexposed?
Let me explain this thing to you. Please, let's be honest with us, this thing that they raise. I am not saying that it is wrong for BOG to go ABC. I've been explaining this over and over. Evans, go and read the PFM Act, which apart from the Constitution is the next supreme law when it comes to how public funds are to be managed on the basis of controls, procedures, and all these communities. Go and read, PFM Act 2016, Act 921, Section 18. I stand to be corrected because I'm in my car. Go and check. There are even three conditions under which, upon consultation, even our fiscal rules and policies, including these controls you are talking about, whether QUESA or state institutions, we need to even suspend them. One of them is war, natural disaster, and health.
But nothing suspends the reporting obligations placed on the BOG, Dr. Animwaa. Nothing suspends that.
That we want to expect every detail of our controls when situations that are going false within even the stipulate of the PFM Act. Let's be honest with this situation. Let's be very honest with this situation.
Nothing you've said justifies that decision or refusal
justify what decision? No, what
to
are fiscal rules
disregard the Bank
and
of Ghana
policies?
Act that
Explain,
requires
what
them
are
to
they?
report to you. You are a member of
Tell
parliament.
us that under such situation,
Dr. Siminama, you are a member of
such
parliament.
rules, we need to
Dr.
even suspend them upon consultation.
Well,
I think we need to be very...
You are a member of parliament. You are a member on the finance committee in parliament. The law says you should be reported to. You've not been reported to. You are okay with that as the people's representative?
I don't understand. I can't hear you. Maybe
I'm saying
my line is so faint.
No,
sorry.
you are a member of parliament. The law says the central bank governor must report to you under these circumstances. He hasn't. As a people's representative, you are happy with that?
No, how can listen, I'm not happy with where our economy as well as the global economy is, but whether we are happy or not, we need to also adhere and respect the very laws that allow us to do things in a way that will not cause a bigger harm to us as a country. Not that I'm happy that somebody did not go by the controls. Is it that they sat there and said they won't go? Or the situation that came in, even if what they are saying is true, I don't have the detail. The situation which we have, you think the framers of our laws, they were not wise enough to even state three conditions that under such situation, our fiscal rules and policies upon consultations, we can even suspend them because these are war times, and one of them is health issues. That 22 months, the whole world, Evans, as I'm talking to you now, check even base rate in the global economy. Some have moved over 1,700%. If they want to demonstrate, I have no problem. Check all over the world. Where are we not having demonstrations? But we shouldn't mislead Ghanaians. We shouldn't go because of politics, try to give wrong education. We're doing Ghana a great service. A great service because we need to educate people. Of course, there's hardship. We all attest to that fact. And we know that when there's hardship, the cause and the source of the hardship and the very way we can embark on technical policies economically to ensure that we can restore and rebuild this economy for the near future. We need to respect that.
Okay, let me bring Mama Yarga into the conversation. Ms. Yarga, as far as this protest is concerned, when it was first advertised, we're told it's going to be occupy the central bank. Obviously, from what I'm hearing you say today, this is simply a protest that will start and end on the day you present the petition you leave. This is nothing close to occupation of the central bank, correct?
No. I mean, we our letter is clear that we are going to march to the front page of the central bank and then pick it around it and present a petition. And we're very clear with the police when we met them. We know this country very well. We know that you can't go and occupy a central bank. It's branded as Occupy Central Bank, but the details and the specifics clearly state that we are marching to the frontage of the central bank, same way that in the past people marched to the frontage of the Flagstaff House and presented a petition to the office of the president.
And this is on the 5th, and I've heard today that your intention is not to do this alone, but do this with others. And you've suggested that you're having civil society guys join you. But today I only saw my good friend, former PNC chairman, Bernard Mona there. That is not representative of anything close to civil society.
Well, we also had Arise come there, and then a lot of people have publicly indicated their willingness to participate in the protest march. And so we organized it, and we believe that along the line, many civil society groups who are interested will join. But basically, we're the ones who are organizing it, we the minority in parliament.
I mean, Dr. Sivinama, you're obviously opposed to this. Would you organize a protest in support of the BOG?
I really don't have any intention of doing it. I don't think, modern day global economic challenges, solving it, whether you're in opposition or in government, the best tool to use is to demonstrate just because you want power. I think this is the time that we need to bring all minds together and find solutions to our problems as a continent and as a country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen Amma. He's a Deputy Trade Minister. Where do you stand on this? Send me a WhatsApp, 055 11 997.
Go for gold and bet risk-free on the new season with Betway. Use the golden booking code found on the Betway site to bet on selected match weeks from 11th August to 3rd September and get 100% back as a free bet on any losses. You always get more with Betway. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Bet your way.
Hey, you ever buy credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before? Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you don't use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back. Into your Vodafone cash account. We'll reload it, but then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana cedi or more in Vodafone's demo promo. And receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, don't go to Niger for business. Defense Ministry issues stern warning to traders and truck drivers, cautioning that it will be difficult to protect them if they continue to do business in Niger.
So at this time, it is difficult, and it is not even safe for anybody to go to Niger to do business.
We have details as a Ghanaian is shot and 15 trucks burned at the Burkina Faso border, as traders say they are living in fear of terrorist attacks.
Those jihadist people come out, try to stop them, they refused. Not knowing that there are plenty people there, so they decided to start to shoot them. So they stopped, some of them stopped, and some of them go back.
Also tonight.
Работаем. Температура плюс 50. Все как мы любим. ЧВК «Вагнер» проводит РПД. Делает Россию еще более великой на всех континентах.
And that, by the way, is the Prigozhin. You know him, the Wagner boss. Tonight, feared dead after a plane he was traveling in was reportedly shot down near Russia. This is coming days after he was spotted in Africa, claiming he is making the continent freer. We'll get you more on this as it develops. Also tonight, prepare to pay more for the services of tailors and hairdressers, as some small business owners ready themselves to push the added cost of production to their customers following hikes in utility tariffs.
Everything is just to increase the price list.
So because the old have to move pay and they can increase another one. Now things are very difficult for us.
Meanwhile, they are questioning PULC's decision to exclude industries and lifeline users in its latest increment in tariffs. In business tonight,
coupon payments for new domestic debt exchange bonds could put some pressure on the Ghana cedi.
And in sports, Ghana risk abandoning the 4x100-meter relay due to injury to Joseph Paul and James Dazi in the World Athletics Championship.
You want to join us with your views and comments here on Newsnight, and later in Climate Focus. Tonight we put the spotlight on the first Ghanaian to be elected as a vice chair of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Obviously, being at that level, at the IPCC Bureau, I carry the interest of Ghana and also the interest of Africa.
You want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight? Send me your thoughts. 055-11-11997. My name is Evans Mensah. Well, tonight the Defense Ministry is cautioning Ghanaian traders and truck drivers not to do business in Niger. This comes on the heels of reports that 15 trucks carting foodstuff from Niger to Ghana were burnt at the Burkina Faso border by terrorists recently. Now, a driver of the lead vehicle is responding to treatment after being shot in that attack. Before now, several drivers have died in similar attacks, with over 10 Ghanaian trucks being burnt in the process. Nana Yaujima of our Foreign Affairs Desk has more in the following report.
The Doli route into Burkina Faso from Niger has been abandoned by long-distance trucks following heightened activities of terrorists in the area. Videos available to Joy News show many trucks burnt at the border by terrorists earlier this year.
They burn our cars, so many, about 15 cars with onions. And we diverted to Benin.
Niger supplies Ghana with onions, beans, potash, cowhide, and local tea, popularly known as attire. Following the closure of the Benin border as a result of the ECOWAS sanctions against Niger, some drivers have had to consider other options. The Dambala enterprise owns 35 trucks, which have often been involved in carting food from Niger. For many days, some of the trucks have locked up in Niger. According to Masahudu Dambala, one of their vehicles opted for the Doli route, which is less preferred due to security concerns.
They were standing there waiting for combine, escort, yeah. So they were waiting for it, and then the escort is not coming. So one of the cars, that one is not our car, decided to follow the road. So when he succeeded, so the rest they say, okay, they too will try their best and see. So immediately they start going there. Those jihadist people come out, try to stop them, they refused, not knowing that there are plenty people there. So they started to start to shoot them. So they stopped, some of them stopped, and some of them go back. And then even some drivers leave the cars and run away. So our car is in front. So when they reach there, they bend the car.
So where's the driver now and what's his condition?
Yeah, he's in Niger, but the condition is somehow better.
One of the 3 affected trucks was carting onions bound for the Kwadaso market in Kumasi. All 330 onions in the affected trucks have rotten away after the vehicle was burnt. Masaudu Mazu counts his loss. The leading truck was transporting beans, and the next one was transporting my onions. Those were the first to be attacked. They called me later to break the news to me. I couldn't ask them any further questions. Presently, the transport and import company, Dambala Enterprise, has closed operations to Niger. 15 of their trucks are locked up in the landlocked Niger. Many food importers in Kumasi stand the chance of losing their investments if the situation continues. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Well, we're hearing from the Defense Ministry tonight. The Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwa Menu, tells Joy News it will be difficult for Ghanaian forces to protect the traders and drivers beyond the country's territorial borders.
Obviously, once it is outside the jurisdiction of this country, it becomes difficult, especially with all the noise in the sub-region. Because Niger itself, I don't think almost the citizens of Niger themselves are now safe. They themselves, with the coup, with the uncertainty and all that, they themselves are not safe. And countries, coupled with the fact that countries have also closed borders with them, and there have been sanctions on them and all that, they themselves, I don't think they are too certain as to what tomorrow is bringing to them. So at this time, it is difficult, and it is not even safe for anybody to go to Niger to do business. It is not. It is not.
Would the ministry consider perhaps increasing military escort for some of these truck drivers in order to give them some?
We cannot do that. What we can do is to help. Once you get to the borders, you don't have control over what happens within the jurisdiction of, say, Burkina. So what a Ghanaian security person can do is to help our traders to the Ghanaian border with Burkina. We hand them over. You understand?
Yes.
I mean, a soldier in Ghana cannot wear uniform and go to Burkina and behave like a soldier. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't.
So, in the interim, what would be your word to these truck drivers who earn their living from bringing onion?
We all know the situation in Niger. We all know. You don't need a scientist to tell you what is happening. And so it is very difficult for one to now go to Niger to do business. It is very difficult. Looking at the situation in Niger, the situation, there is so much uncertainty. Coup d'etat, soldiers are doing whatever they want. And so it is everyone will have to be careful.
I mean, let's bring in right now a member of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Peter Tobu. We'll also speak to a security analyst, Dr. Ishmael Norman. But Mr. Tobu, thanks for the time here on Newsnight. A serious situation indeed. Ghanaian lives are at stake. One of actually in critical condition, responding to treatment. You had the Deputy Defense Minister there. He was just stating the obvious facts, was he not?
Thank you very much, Evans. Let me say good evening to our cherished listeners. The Defense Minister has stated a fact, but he's stating the fact that the point is ECOWAS was so much in a hurry to place sanctions on Niger. ECOWAS suspended Burkina Faso. ECOWAS suspended Mali. So that whole area, in terms of protocols, ECOWAS do not have control. So there are a lot of bandits, there are a lot of jihadists within the system. At the point that Niger coup happened, we're expecting some kind of strategic movement towards imposing sanctions very slowly, but surely you arrive there, so that we'll have space to allow many our businesmen and women who are already stuck in the system to get out. And gradually we have gotten there. But if you suspend them and impose sanctions straight away, they will also stop doing what they used to do, escorting traders to the border of Burkina Faso and handing them over. Now they are not ready to escort anybody. You place sanctions on them, and you cannot also go in there, just like the defense minister is saying. The Ghanaian soldiers cannot go and bring our traders. So they are stuck in there, and whatever will happen to them is as a result of not so much deeper thinking regarding how we handle the Niger matter.
So that is a bigger subject of what ECOWAS has done. But considering that we still have tracks at risk, Ghanaian lives at risk there, can the state do more?
Oh, yes, the state can push ECOWAS, and ECOWAS should be able to do more, and that's the beginning of negotiation. I mean, it's a trump card the people of Niger has. It's a trump card that your citizens are stuck in there. You want your citizens out. And we also have a challenge, you place sanctions on us. So can we, Jojo, what can we do to support your citizens get back home safely? And what can you also do to lessen the sanctions you place on us? I'm sure that if ECOWAS begin to talk to the junta, they will find a way. The junta can actually escort our traders to the Burkina border and will actually get them home. But if it's just a blanket sanction and there is no communication between the two countries, nobody cares what happens to anybody's citizen who is where. And that is the situation we find ourselves in now.
I mean, Dr. Ishmael Norman is the president and CEO of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. And Doc, you heard the report there, the Ghanaian lives at risk now. We've also heard from the Deputy Defense Minister. What are our options?
Evans, my greetings to Honorable Peter Tobo and the Deputy Defense Minister. These are great guys. Right now, we have a Trojan horse situation. The people of Niger are the ones that have become vigilantes, protecting their country, because they are very, very patriotic people. I could quickly add, in 2012, somebody did a satirical presentation of the Prophet Muhammad, God bless his soul. And the Nigerians, they waited till about 3 years later, and they burned down 150 Christian churches in Niger, even though the satire was in Paris. We have the same situation right now on our hands. When, as Honorable Peter has said, the moment they announced the sanctions, I knew Ghana was at risk, not only from the insurgency, but also from great organized terrorist activity. This is just the beginning. The best way to go about this is not through ECOWAS, because ECOWAS has no credibility, no trust with respect to the people of Niger and the ruling junta. What they need to do is send a track 2 diplomacy group through Sanusi, the Sultan, for them to lead that group to plead for the escort that they used to give, for all the modalities of protection they used to give. If ECOWAS goes there, they will beat them up. Because the people of Niger, they are not like Ghanaians. They are very, very organized. They are very, very patriotic. and they tend to move as a unit. We have a Trojan horse situation.
So in terms of help for these onion traders and the truck drivers who are at risk tonight, many of these trucks have been banned. Ghanaian-owned trucks have been banned. You're saying a military solution is not the one. We should somehow negotiate a path for them, a safe passage back into Ghana.
A military solution will be a disastrous decision. The people will not come back. We will have to collect our men and women, soldiers and police officers in body bags. We don't want that. It has to be track 2 diplomacy, not a formal diplomacy, because ECOWAS has lost the credibility to engage in a formal diplomacy. We need to go to Sanusi. We need to use the Chief Imam's office. We need to rely on all the dignitaries that we have in Ghana that are most likely will be listened to when they speak, not government personalities.
I mean, Peter Tobu, elsewhere, when other citizens are caught up in a conflict such as this, where they are now at the mercy of terrorists in the Sahel, the state will do everything possible, even to negotiate an exchange, if you like, if they are Nigerians in our prisons that they may want. We can do that. I mean, all manner of diplomatic tactics will be explored to get those citizens out. We're having a conversation tonight where our defense ministry say, in essence, we can do much to help. Just don't go there. You sit in Parliament, obviously. You have a voice in this. These are citizens of Ghana. How much are you willing to push for them to get a hearing, for the state to come to their aid beyond what we heard from the defense ministry?
Thank you very much, Evans. I think that is the key statement you've made there. The state must come to their aid. And when we are talking about the state coming to their aid to ensure that we provide safe passage for our traders to come back home, it's not necessarily the use of our armed forces. It's the use of other tools available to government. I mean, the Chief Imam's office, as Dr. Norman is saying, is a very revered office, and people in Niger revere our Chief Imam. Khalifa Sanusi's office is a very revered office. And even at the point that the soldiers didn't want to see eye to eye with ECOWAS, Sanusi had safe passage and arrival in Niger, and he met them. So these are very illustrious people that ECOWAS can actually rely on. Of course, we need to have the ECOWAS mechanism supporting very influential people that can be received by the junta. And gradually we can have a negotiation to have safe passage for our traders back home. It is not a military matter. This is pure diplomacy, using different tools. And of course, not the official tools or official persons, but we can have access to other people that can be respected by the junta and listened to. And gradually we'll have a situation that we can have our traders back home, and we'll begin to think about how do we resolve the whole conflict within the Sahel.
Peter Tobu, thank you very much. Dr. Ishmael Norman, stay with me because a story has been developing over the last 1 hour or so relating to the leader of that mercenary group, the Wagner. And this is relevant to the conversation in Niger because in his latest video that was recorded by Yevgeny Prigozhin, it was reported that he recorded this somewhere in Africa. Many had speculated that it must have been in the Sahel somewhere, and the Wagner group was taking advantage of the instability in that region to extend Russia's influence. In the last hour, in international wires, including the BBC, have been reporting that his plane may have been shot down.
Работаем. Температура плюс 50. Все как мы любим. ЧВК «Вагнер» проводит РПД.
Well, and that's what has been happening over the last hour, and that Prigozhin is feared dead after a plane he was traveling in was reportedly shot down near Russia. According to Russia's Civil Aviation Authority, Prigozhin was on the passenger list of a private jet which crashed, killing all on board. Now, earlier, Wagner-linked Telegram channel Grey Zone reported the Embraer aircraft was shot down by air defenses in the Chal region north of Moscow. Now, the jet, which was flying from Moscow to St. Petersburg, was carrying 7 passengers and 3 crew. Prigozhin led a failed mutiny against the Russian armed forces in June, and many had suggested that this will definitely be one that Putin will be interested in terms of ensuring that he's neutralized. Considering, Dr. Ishmael Norman, the influence that the Wagner group has been gaining in the Sahel region, and our own president is on record publicly to have talked about their influence in Burkina Faso and how they were taking over mine sites, etc., in exchange for mercenary support. What do you say about what just is being reported in the last hour, if indeed he's dead and he's one of those casualties in the plane?
Evans, if this is true, the death of Prigozhin is true, we are going to have heightened tension, and there is going to be infighting amongst the Wagner group. And in order for people to exercise their power over the other group, there's going to be competition over who can be more violent, who can even acquire more territory. I think all of this goes down to the fact that the countries within the sub-region, ECOWAS sub-region, we're going to have to be very, very careful, because there's going to be incremental uptick of terrorist activity, because in order to express your leadership position in any group sometimes, especially in criminal group, you have to kill in order to be elevated to a position of leadership. So they're going to make a lot of horrible decisions that will be affected by, plain citizens in countries that have nothing to do with the death of Wagner. And of course, within Russia, within Belarus, there will be reaction of the group, because they are also stationed in Belarus. So it's not a good thing. And I do believe that this was an intentional decapitation program by Putin. And it's not going to end. The influence of the Wagner group within their part of the world and our part of the world.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Norman. There is a major developing story across the globe tonight, and the BBC in the last few minutes has been reporting that they've been tracking the flight radar tracking data on Flight Radar 24, which is a popular flight tracking website, and it does not show where it actually departed from. I'm talking about the plane in which Prigozhin is reported to have been flying earlier today. It appeared near Moscow, where it climbed to an altitude of nearly 29,000 feet. The plane is registered to Autolex Transport, which is a U.S. government has linked to Prigozhin. That's why there's a lot of talk now that he himself it's in the plane, and that plane has been shot down tonight. The plane's flight records are now partially inaccessible, but it has made several journeys to and from Moscow and St. Petersburg in recent months. Major development indeed for the globe, but also particularly for the SAP region. Let me hear your thoughts on this and more here on Newsnight. Let's stay with SAP regional security and Ghana's security in particular, because the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Adam Yakubu, says Ghana's National Integrated Maritime Strategy, set to be launched next week, is expected to make the country's maritime space one of the safest in the world by 2030. Now, NIMS will provide a blueprint on how to make the country's maritime space safe and also ensure that the country turns its ocean resource into a thriving economy that will contribute to national development. Now, speaking during a media interaction ahead of the 2023 International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference, which is scheduled to take place from August 29th to 30th, the Chief of Naval Staff said NIMS, as is known, will also double the country's blue economy revenue.
They listed a number of agencies that have one or two issues to do with maritime issues. And now we want an integrated one. So everybody is in his ministry, department, or agency trying to play his role. But we don't have that serious coordinating mechanism. So this National Integrated Maritime Strategy provides that mechanism for coordination and working together and having a very good governance structure. And we believe that when we do that, as I said, the vision is that by 2030, the GDP growth of that the maritime domain contributes should double. Whatever the figure is now, we want to see it doubled by the year 20. For the International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference, we've been told the number of partners from across the world, and we've had not less than 27, and they are still, even as at last night, countries were still confirming their participation. So you bring a large gathering of maritime practitioners. And because the sea is a maritime common, that is, you don't have physical borders at sea. So we don't go out there and say, Ghana, this is our space. So we are only interested in that. The transnational organized criminals, they come from different parts of neighboring countries, come and commit their offenses, and then they go back to where they are coming from. So we have to work together with our neighbors.
Well, he also disclosed a number of kidnappings that has happened across the sub-region as far as the maritime enclave is concerned, and Ghana's role in preventing that from further escalating and attacks in the Gulf of Guinea.
2021, Ghana alone had not less than 6 attacks, particularly on our vulnerable tuna vessels, and not less than 11 of our sailors were kidnapped and taken to other places, and they were only rescued after they had paid a ransom. I think this was in 2020. 2021, 2022, we did not experience any such attacks or kidnapping, as he said. For the last 2 years, we haven't experienced, particularly the kidnapping, attacking with arms on ships, and kidnapping of sailors has not happened in the last 2 years. So that is an achievement, and there are strategies we have put in place to achieve that. 2023, we have seen some resurgence, not in our country, but in some neighboring countries. A few attacks have occurred. That is why this conference has come very, very timely. But when those things occurred, as he said, they just didn't stop because the people didn't want to come again. We had to put strategies in place. And some of those strategies were developed during some of these conferences, and then the collaboration that we had with all the countries that are coming.
I want to bring in Dr. Bonsu Dixon. He is a Director of Policy at the Ministry of National Security. He joins us now. Doc, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Hello, Dr. Dixon.
Yes, hello.
Great to have you join us. The National Integrated Maritime Strategy, I understand from 2017, you've been holding consultations on this, and I've had the pitch about how it is going to contribute significantly to transform Ghana's blue economy. How precisely do you envision it to achieve this?
Well, thank you so much. And first and foremost, let me say that so the strategy, as with most strategies, has a number of givens. I mean, and particularly here I'm dealing with the pillars of the strategy. So one among many of the pillars, I think you have roughly like 5 major pillars that one can speak of here. One of them is the having a thriving blue economy. You have others like improving the space for maritime governance and so on and so forth. But your question has to do with the thriving blue economy. So that is the national objective of this country as we speak of it today. To galvanize our energies and all the elements of national power to focus on harnessing the sea that we have, which is a resource. We get hydrocarbons from the sea, we get protein, or we get fish, or we get food stock from there. We use the sea as navigation. We use our water bodies for so many other things. We use it for recreation. We develop jobs, therefore, from all these engagements. And these have been properly labeled in other countries or in the literature as blue jobs. So there's a potential to actually upscale our own GDP by turning our attention not only on land, but onto the sea and getting some dividend that might accrue if we do so in a very practical manner. And so Therefore, if you pick the strategy in entirety, that's one major thrust of that particular strategy, yes.
Let's focus for a second on the securities conversation. And we've just heard there about the threat that is posed by kidnappers and also attacks in the Gulf. From the picture we just had, Ghana has largely been spared the worst of it. Is it because you have more resources patrolling our waters, or we are collaborating more with international agencies? What are we doing right?
I think there's a multiplicity of reasons for that. And you heard the CNN, the Chief of Naval Staff, give some figures to you. And I think that if you listen closely, he made mention of the fact that the naval forces of this country have not been resting. Okay, so it is not as if it's so. There's one. I mean, they have strategized better. That is one. It is not as if and to do so. You mentioned a number of things. You mentioned where maybe could be attributed to increased collaborations with international partners. That is possible. That is possibly also true because you can't do much as a state against transnational organized crime or criminality that is confronting you if you fail to actually work well with your neighbors. I mean, if you pick, for example, Ghana. So Ghana, for example, we are in the Zone F, and within that zone, we have a number of parties that we collaborate with, because it's in our interest so to do. Apart from that also, you would also notice that there are international problems against international law, that the activities of people who operate illegally or criminally within international waters predispose themselves to. And so it brings about not only national security interest and risk, but it also provokes both regional and international response. And the Ghana Navy definitely will be doing collaborative work in that particular space.
Okay. Dr. Sebunsu Dixon, thank you very much. So live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Shortly after business, I will be bringing you the story that many of you are talking about. Prepare to pay more for the services of tailors and hairdressers, as some small business owners ready themselves to push the added cost of production to their customers following hikes in utility tariffs.
It is just to increase the price list.
So because the old debt no fee pay and they come increase another one. Now things are very difficult for us.
And then in our build-up series into Saturday, the MPP Super Delegates Conference, we focus on the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is touting his dedication and allegiance to the MPP. But why? Stay with us for that and more after business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, coupon payments for new domestic debt exchange bonds could put some pressure on the Ghana cedi. And government plans to raise about 39 billion Ghana cedis through treasury bills in the third quarter of this year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Alliance Life and Ghana Pay.
Of the year, just in some points, Momo Pay, or you say Momo app. Send with ease and win big. You be merchant or you be Momo user. Momo season Abanti, send the BBR. Send the BBR. Momo season Abanti, send the BBR. Send the BBR.
From now till the end of September, earn points when you download the Momo app and make Momo Pay transactions to a merchant via either the QR code or merchant ID, and stand the chance of winning 1,000 Ghana cedis weekly and other amazing prizes. Our merchants are not left out. Receive payment and win. There are lots and lots of exciting prizes to be won. So download the Momo app, transact with Momo Pay, and get rewarded this Momo season. TNCs apply.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
No matter your water needs,
Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, strong, tough.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrotia no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mo ma na yakono. Eye kwabna. No mumu hwan so na tumi just male me ma yene nyina de. Eye kojo. Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mo sense o yisu president eba. Ayede yan ban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ho ban na sem ma na ho de ne. Sa ani na kudwo so yisu president chako. Na no ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you. Ey kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie. You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Welcome back to Business on News Night. Now, payment of coupons for the new domestic debt exchange bonds could put some fresh pressure on the Ghana city. Now, that's the fear of some bank treasurers that Joy Business has been engaging. There is more in this Business Desk report.
Demand for dollars by local businesses have picked up strongly since last week. Some industry watchers are linking it to move by some of these enterprises to restock for Christmas festivities in December. This has brought some pressure on the Ghana cedi since August 14, 2023. However, there are fears that the situation could get worse in the coming days in terms of fresh demand for dollars. This is because most of the offshore investors that participated in the debt exchange program and have received their coupon payment would want to exchange it into dollars and send it back to their respective countries. This could have serious implications on the cedi's fortune. There are also concerns that with the injection of some 2.4 billion Ghana cedis into the economy and how some bondholders might want to quickly change it into dollar to try and hedge against inflation. Some of the commercial banks have also told Joy Business there has been reduced dollar supply on the market, a move that has contributed to the current pressure on the Ghana cedi. But the Bank of Ghana, on the other hand, has maintained that it has the required reserves for now to deal with the current pressures on the cedi. There are projections that the country's international reserves could increase substantially in the last quarter of this year due to the cocoa loan syndication program, inflows from the IMF and World Bank, as well as other donor partners like the African Development Bank. This could help in stabilizing the local currency in the last quarter of this year.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, government is planning to raise about 39 billion Ghana cedis through treasury bills in the third quarter of this year. This was captured in government's issuance calendar from July to September this year, issued by the Bank of Ghana. The central bank in the circular said this amount can be revised depending on market conditions, as well as government plans for the rest of the year. The circular was to inform market players about the planned borrowing for this period. Now, over 90% of holders of cocoa bills have tendered in their bills to exchange for new government bills. Now, this can be described as a huge success for the state as it looks forward to use proceeds to finance cocoa purchases. Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Animwaa disclosed this at the International Taxation Conference in Accra. There is more in this report.
Government announced the exchange of almost 8 billion cedis to refinance cocoa purchase for the next season as Cocoa Board makes arrangement to raise more funds. According to the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Amin-Addo, it has been successful and a signal of some recoveries to be made in the domestic market.
We have been extremely successful with the current tendering of more than 90% for cocoa bills of 7.9 billion cedis and US dollar exchange of $809 million. And detailed announcements will flow through when the settlements are done.
Speaking of the country's revenue mobilization drive, economist at the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Charles Aka, urged government to pay attention to export-driven commodities in order to improve foreign earnings.
Need to have a discussion on how to go back to the situation where the Asian countries are, where the trade balance is positive, meaning that government is investing in industrialization, import substitution, so that we eat what we produce and stop our import dependence, and then we export more to get more revenue and get more remittances so that we can pay for our import.
And that is Professor Charles Aka ending that business text report. Two other stories. The Ghana Standards Authority is urging the general public to ensure that products that have right certifications when purchases to avoid fake products. According to the scientific officer at the authority, Francis Mensah, consumers must ensure that they purchase products that have the right certification. He was speaking at a seminar organized by Signified Products of Philips Lights.
So what we tell customers and consumers are that you have interest in purchasing a product. One, buy from a traceable source. Are you buying from a tabletop seller or you are buying from a recognized seller? So buying from a recognized seller, it is a traceable source. In the event where you have issues with your product, you can go back to the same source. But when you are buying from a tabletop, you go back there, the table is not there, the seller is not there. Products are supposed to be marked with manufacturer's information, the local distributor. So you look out for that.
And that is the scientific officer with the Ghana Standards Authority, Francis Mensah, speaking at the seminar organized by Signified Products, that is producers of the Philips Lights. To other stories, let's tell you more about hoteliers who say they plan to march to the offices of the Public Utility Regulatory Commission office for peaceful demonstration over the previous hikes in water tariffs. The hoteliers in the first quarter of this year kickstart the process to engage the Commission over the margin of water tariff hikes. Dr. Joseph Akanyamika is the Vice President of the Ghana Hotels Association.
On Tuesday, 29th August, at the International Press Center, and we're also planning to undertake a protest march, peaceful one for that matter, from the Press Center to the PURC office. We want this issue resolved. PURC cannot brush this under the carpet. We want our public agencies to be responsible for their actions and their inactions as well, because this increment, the 4.2 and 1.18, it's made abundantly clear. We are okay with that. We've been forewarned, so we'll do what we need to do, keep our business going. But when you make such an announcement, can you imagine that with this announcement, then on 1st September, we are here to say 100% increase or 120% increase? That is the issue we are trying to resolve with PURC, and they cannot run away from this.
Dr. Joseph Akanyamika is Vice President of the Ghana Hotels Association. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you're a shareholder of Calbank, today the value of each share that you're holding is down by a peso and it's now worth 63 pesos. If you look at the shares of World, it also went down by 5 pesos and it's now worth 1 Ghana cedi, 60 pesos. And even interesting developments on the international market, the Russian, the Wagner Group leader, Prigozhin, all right, I hope I got the pronunciation right. I mean, I remember I listened to a discussion on BBC NewsHour. One analyst said that Putin is not done with this man. He will surely come after him.
Yeah. Many had
but in Africa, we are worried about what this could mean as well for security in the region,
of
even
course.
as you explained or did the analysis on earlier on.
Yeah, it's as you had Dr. Ishmael Norman suggests, it may actually bring further instability. Anyway, BBC is updating that they now have a video of the plane crashing in Western Russia, and they shared earlier stills from a video showing a moment the plane burst into flames in Western Russia, and they've now put the entire video there. They also now have a brief comment from the White House, which says President Joe Biden has been briefed on the reported plane crash in Russia. So this is a major global development story. We'll keep a close eye on this because it has a direct impact on what is happening in the Sahel and its impact on us here in Ghana as well. You're still live on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. She is determined to make a strong case for Ghana on the global stage in the climate change research and discussions area. Now, Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche, head of the physics department at the University of Ghana, is the first Ghanaian to be elected as a vice chair of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, for Climate Focus tonight, Mohammed Nuruddin asked what her appointment signifies for climate change issues in Ghana.
Prof, I would like you to update us.
Professor Nana Ama Brown-Kluche and her physics students are overjoyed at her election.
It's already 9 days in office.
Yes.
How has the experience been?
I was particularly excited when I heard about her position, her being elected into the IPCC Bureau. That is big for Ghana and big for University of Ghana as well.
My name is Dr. Joseph Asari. I know that she has a lot of plans. She has some visions that I believe will bring a lot of progress to.
Though this may sound exciting to students, Professor Kluche says the implications of climate change in Ghana and Africa are what she would present to the IPCC.
Yeah, so obviously being at that level, at the IPCC Bureau, I carry the interest of Ghana and also the interest of Africa into the Bureau. I will be in a position together with my team of Bureau members to decide on the various special reports we need to do our research on, in the world, and also
coastal erosion, wildfires, among other issues, will be tackled by Professor Kluche as vice chair.
We know we have so many climate change challenges in Ghana and of course Africa. Ghana specifically, we know obviously we have the coastal erosion that is eating up our land resources. We know also of wildfires that is disturbing our forests. We know about drought that is also affecting our food security. Even rainfall that is always variable or erratic is also affecting farmers' livelihood and also food security. I will have all of that in mind when we are taking decisions at the Bureau.
She would also look at the report to see if it is inclusive, comprehensive, and focuses on climate change research.
I'll be looking at the report if it is reflective of inclusivity, if it is comprehensive, if it focuses on the science of climate change. So we'll have lead authors that will work under me, and I have to make sure that their report is in the right position as required at the United Nations level.
Professor Kluche was the only Ghanaian lead author in the Working Group 1, and she contributed to the Atlas Chapters Africa part, as well as other chapters pertaining to Africa. She received her PhD in climatology from the University of Cape Town in South Africa, and her research focuses on climate modeling and impacts. Professor Kluche of the University of Ghana's Department of Physics has been monitoring several students involved in climate research.
So this is one of our labs. This is what I teach at the first year level, electricity and magnetism. So these are experimental setup we use to demonstrate the concept that we teach in class to the students, so they have a practical experience of the concept as well. I would say you should keep it up. Yes, you can clap for yourself. You can clap for yourself.
The 7th IPCC assessment report has just started and will last 5 to 7 years, allowing the 7th assessment report to feed into the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change Global Stocktake in 2028. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
And my name is Evans Mensah. Now, tonight, prepare to pay more for the services of tailors and hairdressers, as some small business owners ready themselves to push the added cost of production to their customers following hikes in utility tariffs. Now, this comes as the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission announced a 4.22% increase in electricity tariffs and 1.18% in water tariff. Now, some small business owners say they have no choice than to pass on the cost. We'll hear from them shortly. But first, listen to the Executive Secretary of the PULC, Dr. Ishmael Aka.
To the best of our knowledge, I think we are recovering fully what the utilities need to operate and serve us better. Just that when we look at the first quarter, we had some areas we didn't pass on because we felt if we do, the tariff will be too much. So we left about 450 million, which we've recovered 40% now. So this tariff recovers fully the changes in the exchange rate, inflation, and the changes in gas price, plus 40% of the arrears. Yes. So if we don't adjust now, and maybe in future the gas price goes up, what it means is that we may have to do a bigger adjustment. So that is why we do the quarterly. If for any reason these factors also come down, PURC will reduce the tariff so that consumers will benefit.
Well, the Commission also announced that industries and lifeline users have been exempted, but some small business owners have questioned why they have to carry the burden alone. We spoke to some hairdressers and tailors who say they will have to pass on the cost to their customers.
It's so unfair because for the light, it really affects, though for water, it does not affect because we don't use much water. It's just for like cleaning of the shop and personal use. But in the aspect of light, it will affect in a big way because everything we do here, the ironing, the sewing, both even the knitting, it uses light. So to modify everything is just to increase the price list. With that now, you'll be able to be on the safer side for you to still pay your light bill and still get something from what you're doing.
Very bad. Very, very, very bad. So because the old debt, no fee pay, and they come increase another one. Now things are very difficult for us to understand. Now we don't get more customers than before. And now I don't know why they're going to increase the salary.
Well, that's the last point there that I'm sure Ms. Bao will be interested in. They're talking about salary linking increases in utility tariffs to salaries. That's a point I'm pretty sure you've been thinking about, Ms. Bao.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Because you're going to be paying more.
Yeah, I mean.
You rent or you own?
I do pay some bills, though. You know, I live in a family house, but I pay some bills, and I think it's going to increase now, especially the electricity tariffs. And, it should be commensurate with, increments in salaries and all of that, so people can afford it. It's good. And I think that's
you took the bait.
Yeah, I think that's the
hook, line, and sinker. What do you have in sports headlines?
It's Ghana. It's the World Athletics Championship, and earlier today, Ghana, we had two athletes trying to make it to the semifinals of the 200-meter, 200-meter race there, but we failed. And at the moment, our participation in Friday's men's 4x100-meter relay, the ongoing World Athletics Championship in Budapest, is in serious jeopardy after 2 of the 5-member team picked up injuries in the 200-meter heats on Wednesday today. Well, Fentio Tahiro Fentio is with the team in Budapest, Hungary, and explains why Ghana might abandon the 4x100-meter relay.
Was fared the worst when James Darcy did not finish his 200-meter heat. Joseph Polamo, on the other hand, did finish, but he later complained about a toe that he said had popped towards the end of his race. Eventually, both athletes were taken for scans. James Darcy's revealed that he had suffered an aggravation of a hamstring injury he had been carrying for the latter part of this season. Joseph Polamo's own is much more severe. He has ruptured his right toe, which means both athletes have now been ruled out of any potential action in the next few weeks. Critically, it means only 3 members of Ghana's relay team are now available and fit to run on Friday. And given that he cannot field 3 people in a 4x100-meter relay team, it looks likely that Ghana will withdraw from this particular race.
Well, a coach of the side, Elom Amenakwa, has been reacting to this possible development that Ghana might not participate in the 4x100-meter relay. And he says he's very nervous and only hoping for a miracle.
Yeah, very much nervous. I can't go against doctors if they advise that he can run, or if the athletes also feel that he can run. There's nothing I can do about it as a coach. I'm just hoping Joe Paul's own is not that serious that he'll be able to step in for the 4x1 team. But if there's a medical advice that says that he can't, and or the athlete himself feels that he can't, no, I can't force him to do it.
Yep, so that's it in the World Athletics Championship. Not hope for a medal, Evans. No hope for a medal at the moment, but we just hope that the two guys are able to recover and turn up in subsequent championship. That's it for sports. Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco supported us. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Thank you, Ms. Bao. And yes, this is your election headquarters. We are counting down to Saturday when the MPP and its super, or let's call it the Special Electoral College, will be making the decision. They will be terminating the presidential ambitions of 5 of the 10 presidential aspirants. Well, tonight, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, one of them, is touting his dedication and allegiance to the MPP, positioning himself as a suitable choice to lead the party. He pledges to carve a distinct path toward economic prosperity if chosen as the MPP's leader. With the party's super delegates conference just 3 days away, Samuel Mbura from our political desk has been assessing his campaign.
From the time the rating agencies started downgrading Ghana's economy, what has happened to us? What has happened to us? Do you understand? When they started downgrading, doesn't mean that...
He is an economist with experience at the central bank. He transitioned into politics and was the first to introduce a data-driven narrative in Ghana's political landscape, gaining trust among Ghanaians. His prominence peaked during the 2012 election petition.
Let us put down my analysis and show me one repeated polling station in my analysis. If you are afraid of the truth, then of course you will hide behind these exhibit numbers.
His father, Mumuni Bawumia, co-founded the Northern People's Party, with SD Dombo contributing to the birth of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, sparking arguments for the Dombo faction to lead the NPP, given the historical representation of Dankwa and Buzia.
They will be in trouble. They know we will break the gates. They know John Mahama cannot take me on in the north. I will beat him in the north. I will beat him in the north. Anyway.
However, some contend that politics transcends tribal lines and prioritizes competence. His role in reducing the MPP's parliamentary deficit from over 80% to under 60% in the northern regions since 2008 is highlighted, making him a strong contender against NDC's John Mahama after the 2020 elections. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's candidacy garners extensive nationwide endorsements from both within and outside the MPP. Notably, Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Botry, is among MPP stalwarts supporting him.
Based on my knowledge and experiences in the party, I have come to conclude that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the right person who holds the future of this party. So please, I will urge all of you to come out together to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is passionately underlining his dedication to the MPP, emphasizing he has never abandoned his responsibility.
I have sacrificed for the party. I have defended the party in good times and in challenging times. I have never wavered or slacked. Never.
He therefore assures that if elected, he will lead the country towards economic prosperity.
Together with you, I want to see a Ghana with an education system tilted towards STEM, robotics, artificial intelligence, digital and vocational skills to cope with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution.
Though several surveys predict a landslide victory for him, the Superdelegates Congress will be the litmus paper to test how strong his signal is to lead the MPP. For Joy News, Samuel Mbura.
You want to join us this Saturday from 7 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. But before that, there is Election Eve, and that is on Friday. It's on the Joy News channel across our many social media platforms from 8 to 10 p.m. And Animwaa Anim-Addo is here,
Hi,
preparing for
Evans.
Strong and Sassy. I just wonder, have
Yes,
you been
my
to the
love.
Chalewote Festival?
I'm planning to go tomorrow and Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
All of that?
Yes.
Okay, it seemed like a place that you will thrive because some of these patrons have been loving it.
Because this is one of the biggest festivals of its kind in all of West Africa, so we couldn't, wait to come and experience it in person.
People are coming from all over the place, all over the world.
All over the
indeed, to come and
world.
participate
And
in
also, I mean, it's really exciting because the venue has changed. So we're in Osu this time. And so really exciting. So I have a couple of friends who are on some of the committees and staff.
Are you singing right?
So no, I'm not. I'm quite sad. I missed the silent procession though on the first day. But I'm looking forward to the movies and I'm hoping I can find some corner with some gakomi, and some kinanko.
I haven't eaten all day. So,
oh, sorry. Some gakomi in the corner
can
somewhere.
You stop it?
It's gonna be because you can't really do a Ga festival.
You have a show, right?
Without Kenkei.
You know have a show, right?
It's all part of the show. What's up?
Okay.
So what's the name?
Why does society pressure women to give birth?
Why?
I still don't understand.
You don't understand why society pressures
I have
women?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know how it is. The first thing is
why society does.
First thing is, you must get married, and then when you get married, is when are the children coming? You're getting too old. You're not gonna have children. I mean, I get that. The thing with women is that the time frame within which we can have children is limited, and so there's a certain. It's time bound, isn't it? As opposed to like a 70-year-old man. I mean, once you can get it up, and all of that, But with women, it's time bound, and so. I mean, it seems like it's something that you have to do. If it's not coming, then there's a problem. But there's this new breed of women who are deciding when to have children. They're saying, we want to focus on our careers and have children later, or we don't want to have children at all. Why is it the natural order of things that we must have children? Especially if the original command was to multiply and fill the earth. Well, the earth is pretty full, wouldn't you say?
I think I agree with you.
So must we all have children?
Well, let's leave that for your guest.
Must we? Must we?
I think if I answer that question, I would take a bit of the surprise element out of the.
I see. Well,
so, yeah.
Anyway,
so
we're coming up strong and sassy. We're talking about why society puts pressure on women to have children, and we'll be interactive. So you can wait for us on Facebook. We'll be over there in a second.